So the following week, my sister got married, and we were all in Pittsburgh. She and her husband, Cheskel, were living together with us. This was the end of Kislev. Tevis and Yud Shvat was the Histalkus. Yud Shvat was a Shabbos. And interestingly enough, the phone kept ringing all Shabbos. Of course, nobody answered it. And by the time Shabbos was out, my father was still in shul. I answered the phone, and it was my brother, Label, who had told us about the Histalkus. I passed this on to my sister, to my mother, and my brother-in-law. And then, and of course, they were all standing and crying in their room. And my father came home from shul, and he says, "Where is everybody?" And I figured I'm not going to be the one to tell him. And he went back and forth and looking. And then I saw when he noticed that they were all together in Kenny's room, and he went in, and I was waiting to see what's going to happen now. And then he walked out, and he walked into his room, and for the first and only time, I heard these devastating sobs and crying of my father. All right, this was Motzei Shabbos. They all got on a train. They went to New York for the Levaya, and they came back. I still remember that my father came back with the Kriya on his surtuk, and the whole week he sat and just learned Mishnayos the whole time. And then slowly, time started to move on. It was about 2 or 3 months, not much after that. And of course, there was a lot of talk about the Rebbe, that, the Nesias of the Rebbe. And my father was talking about it, and I remember my sister so desperately crying and saying, "Wie kann man so schnell vergessen? How can you forget so quickly?" To her, the Frierdiker Rebbe was mamish like a piece of her. She couldn't understand replacing him with somebody else. Now, I didn't understand what my father said to her, but knowing my father and knowing how he, who had come to Lubavitch by the Rebbe Rashab, and then through the whole Nesias of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and he was ready to throw himself under the Nesias of the Rebbe Soll Gesund sein, he was explaining to her that it's not replacing or it's not forgetting, it's a continuation. And this is the way he used to talk. When he would talk about the times that he was in Lubavitch, he would say, "Wenn der Rebbe gesagt am Maimer, is der Rebbe gestanden an Kegel und gechazert," and we say, "Pa, which Rebbe?" And he would say, "Rebbe." He never explicitly said the Rebbe Rashab, the Frierdiker Rebbe, it was like him, it was all Rebbe. And I guess that was what the message that he was trying to get across to my sister. Okay, the year passed. Takad Yud Shvat was the Nesias of the Rebbe Soll Gesund sein. And Rosh Chodesh Adar was my brother Label's chasana, which was the first chasana where the Rebbe was Mesader Kedushin. So, of course, it was very exciting. Okay, we had the chasana. I'm not going to go into that. There were some very interesting things there as well. But I'm going to describe to you another scene which is indelible in my mind. Keny had gone in on Yechidus to the Rebbe. Obviously, the Rebbe captivated her. Now, we were in the Kazanovsky home. My sister-in-law, Didi, was a Kazanovsky. We were in Bensonhurst, and there was my brother Zalman and his wife, Didi, and my sister, Keny, and I was there, a 12-year-old kid. They weren't paying any attention to me at all, and I'm watching this scene. Keny is describing her Yechidus to the Rebbe. Obviously, she was ecstatic. And she was saying how when she went in and the Rebbe told her to sit down, but she remembered by the Frierdiker Rebbe, they took somebody in and the Rebbe told him to sit down. He sat down, and when they came out of the Yechidus, they nearly took his head off. So she knew not to sit down. And then she went on. I don't remember if she spoke about the Yechidus, what the Rebbe said or didn't say. I wouldn't have remembered that anyway. But then she said, "I realized that the Yechidus was over, but I didn't want to go out yet." So the Rebbe continued. How much longer did the Rebbe speak? A half a minute? A minute? Surely not. My brother Zalman. What? The Yechidus was over? And you didn't go out? So she started to cry. Azachet. She had made this terrible chet. She didn't go out. So here she's crying.